Welcome in everybody. Hope you guys are having a good weekend so far. Happy Saturday. We are going to be picking up where we left off. So let me go through the list of LINQ methods that we've already gone over. Hope everyone's doing good and everything sounds good. I believe it should. Let me just confirm a few things before we get going. But essentially, that is what I'm going to be doing. We're going to be going through a few of these things. We're going to be going through a few of these methods. So let me recap which ones we've done. So we've done any, we've done all, we have done where, and so let me reiterate. Basically, we're just going to keep reviewing all the LINQ methods that are out up until .NET 10. So that's what we're going to be going through in these videos, in these live streams. So we've already gone through any, all, we've done where, skip, we've done skip, we've done take, and then aggregate, we've done count, concat, contains, average, default if empty, element at or default. We've done empty and accept. So there's a few in here that we still need to do. So that's going to be cast and distinct. And then I think we're like on the list and back on track with like this long list. But essentially, that's what I'm going to be doing today. So we're just going to be continuing on with this. This is technically going to be part 3, but we're going through this long list. I doubt that I'm going to finish it today during the live stream. There are 2 other parts that are already out on my live stream VODs on my YouTube channel. So go check those out if you want to recap what I've already done up until this point. All of this will build up to, I probably will make a condensed version of this, or I'll record a shorter version going over all the methods for like an actual YouTube video. I don't know yet. Thinking about it, still trying to figure it out. But yeah, I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do with that. But I definitely want this for me and for all of you to go over all this, because as of .NET 10, they have 2 new LINQ methods, which are the left join and right join, which I have 2 videos on. I have a video on that, and also everything that came out in .NET 10. So go check those out if you guys haven't checked those out. But with that being said, let's go back to actually going over all of these methods, and then we can continue from there. So with that being said, I have my .NET 10 API right here. So we just have a bunch of stuff. I've used it in multiple other videos and stuff of that nature. So this method right here, this LINQ methods method, is basically where I have, a bunch of the examples that I've done over the course of this video. So as you guys can see, we have, wheres, we have skip and take, toList, concat, average, element or default, select, accept. So we have a bunch of examples for all of these. And I probably am going to push this up. So if members want access to that, let me know. But again, all my code is accessible to members only. So just shoot me a message, an email, and I should be able to get you that. So let me see what we're doing. Okay. Just want to make sure that the stream was going correctly. Seems to be going as expected. Okay, cool. So with that being said, let's move on to the next ones. So I think we could probably just go ahead and do, which ones are the ones that I skipped? So let's go and do cast. So let's go back up to cast. I know I haven't done first and default, and we can do those later. So I'll try and get through as many of these as we can today. But again, hope you guys are having a good weekend. Happy Saturday. And let's get into this. Hope you guys had a good work week, whatever that may have been. Hope you guys had a good week. And now to the cast. So let's get into this. So for IEnumerables, cast the elements of an IEnumerable to the specified type. So what I'm assuming is we have these as one type. So is it like projecting like a select? I don't. There's some of these like I've literally never used. So also I got like this like a pop filter, which I didn't know what it was. I didn't know it was a thing, but now I have it here, and I hope things sound better, especially when I do that. sound. I hope it didn't sound as poppy in your ears, because I did notice that like whenever you were like wearing earbuds or headphones, like sometimes that would be annoying. But anyways, let us continue. So cast the element of an IEnumerable to the specified type. So let's scroll down. The IEnumerable. So we have the result, the type to cast the elements to source, the source, and it returns an IEnumerable of a certain type. So let's look at the example like we've done. So they have a array list of fruits, and then they're adding in. So this is a bunch of. So this is a list of strings that they're creating here, and then they are casting it to an IEnumerable. Is that what they're doing? But it's the same type, but then they're adding it in order by and a select. So let me analyze this a little further. So it's just casting it to string. The following code without the cast doesn't compile. If you just do an IEnumerable of string, query 1 equals fruits array list order by fruit select. Okay. So then they're just basically casting it so that it can be turned into an IEnumerable. Because cast, what it does, from what it says here, it basically just casts whatever you're passing into it into an IEnumerable of the specified type. So that's essentially all it does. So it's just like it just like transported along. It doesn't actually do like the selecting. So as we see here, like this actually does the selecting and the ordering. But all this does is sort of like, all it does is cast a specific type. It just says, hey, whatever we're going to change, we're just going to, it's going to be an IEnumerable and it's going to be of blank type. But like what's actually inside of it and the order is going to be defined by everything after. So the only thing the cast is actually doing is it defines it as now whatever the return is going to be an IEnumerable now. But it's also going to be a, blank type. So in this example, yeah, this one wouldn't come back because this is an array list. This is an array list that then they do an order by and a select. So I wonder if you did like a to list here, that would change anything, and that would work with an IEnumerable, even though this wouldn't. Interesting. So essentially, that's all this is doing. This thing basically just turns it into an IEnumerable of a given type. And that's it. Okay. So let's see. This method is implemented by using deferred execution, blah, 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 blah. The query is not executed until the object is enumerated. Yes. The cast enables a standard query. Does not implement IEnumerable. So what is an array list? Because I know what a list is. So it's basically just a combination of a list and an array. That is great. I love when just things are what their name is. Let me see. Creates an initial. Yeah, you're just adding things in. It's like an array list. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so that's all it is. But essentially, does not implement IEnumerable. Okay, so an array list isn't technically an IEnumerable. So you have to use a cast, and then once you actually use cast here, its result is always going to be blank type, and then it's an IEnumerable, and then it'll return it back. Okay, so something like that. So in the query expression, an explicitly typed iteration variable translate to cast IEnumerable. So from int, okay. Okay, so that's really it. So what are some cases where you would want this? I guess because I feel like nowadays I don't find myself working with like, maybe that could be my problem, that I don't work with a lot of things that aren't like lists in general. Like I don't find myself working in a lot of scenarios where I find that cast is really necessary. I don't know about you guys in chat. If you guys can give me some actual good examples of when cast would be good. I mean, I'm assuming there are situations where like I could have an array or an array list, but I guess like in working, like I don't Like, I haven't really ever had a need where, like, I need to cast to a specific type IEnumerable. I guess, like, I could create it, but, like, I don't think I've ever needed to cast. That feels like an unnecessary jump, especially if, like, I'm pulling from a database or something of that nature. I feel like at that point, like, you usually just create a list. I don't know if maybe there's like some performance benefit that maybe down the line you start with an array and then eventually you turn it into like a list or an IEnumerable at some point, and that has like some sort of performance benefit to using a cast. But essentially, all you would do is like an example like that, because you would just be using like IEnumerable of blank is what you're getting back. So I don't honestly know right now what my type is going to be. And then, because then I don't really have, because everything here is like already coming back as this, unless I specifically say that I want it to be as something else, like to, like, if I set it like as an array, I guess, like I could do that, I guess. So that could be one thing I do. So let's just move this one down here. Let's grab this, and then let's just do 2 array. So this is now going to be type array. So now that's a Pokemon array, not a list anymore. And then this is still going to be an IEnumerable of type Pokemon, because these are still Pokemon. So then if we do array, and then we dot cast, and then we cast this to Pokemon, and then come on, man. So then that should return an IEnumerable. So see, I'm just like, maybe I'm just being extra, but like I don't see when I'm ever gonna use this. Maybe there's very specific scenarios, but I do not see when I would ever use this. I'll be honest. Let's run it. Let's just run it and let's just like kind of see what happens. But I don't really see myself ever using cast. But hey, I know what it does now, and we can move on, I guess. So let me run it. Let's step through and let's just see if it does anything special. Let me see. Click, and then, okay, we're here. So here we can see that we have our array of Pokemon. So again, it's just an array. And then we step through, and then now we have a list. Feel like it is very self-explanatory. I don't think we really need to spend too much time on this. Let's move on to another one, because I think that's just sort of everything with cast. So let's recap. Cast is essentially you have some elements in some type of structure, and then essentially you are going to cast them into a certain type, and they become now an IEnumerable. That's what cast does. So let's go back to the list. The other one that I had skipped was distinct. So I think distinct is one that probably the majority of us have worked with at one point or another, to be honest. Like, usually you're going to have a list of things, or you're going to have a table that you're querying, or you have something and you're going to have either duplicates, or you want to get, what are the certain like distinct, I'm trying to use a word that's not distinct. What are, like, I just want one of each. Like, I just want one of each. Don't give me duplicates. Just give me one example of each different value for some purpose, right? Like, we don't need duplicates of something, right? Like, if we were going through a database and we wanted to see what customers have placed orders, then we can go through our database table and be like, give us all the customers that have placed orders. knowing that most likely there's going to be customers that have placed multiple orders, right? If we're a good business and we have repeat customers, then they might have multiple orders. So with that being said, we're going to have multiple orders. So you'd want to filter out and remove, customers that show up twice, because maybe you want to send, emails, or you want to send promotional material and you want that information, but you don't want to send the same email to the same person like twice because they placed multiple orders, and you want to return the distinct elements, which is why we get into distinct. So we have our distinct, which is going to return distinct elements from a sequence. And hopefully, or maybe not, maybe you have never worked with distinct and I'm assuming too much, but essentially it removes duplicate elements from a list. So source is null, IEnumerable. So essentially, how to implement equality. No, we don't want that. Let's just look at the very basic example of how this works. So you can use your sequence of products, and we have the distinct method. So we have apple, orange, apple, lemon. As you guys could see from me repeating apple 2 times, there are 2 apples. When you use distinct, the goal is to only have 1 apple. You can either eat the apple or you can just use distinct. So when we move down here, we have an IEnumerable of products, and they are calling it no duplicates. So how do they do that? Products.distinct. And then in here, they basically created, I think, this equality comparison just so that they can use their object to compare. But essentially, you would just pass in like your name or blah, blah, blah. So that would be the only thing. So we can see probably another example here. So we have a list of integers. And we want to get distinct ages. So they just do ages.distinct. So you get rid of the 246, you get rid of the 351s, and the 221s. So then you only have 21, 46, 55, and 17. So you only have 1 of each, and you don't have a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 values. You're only down to 4 because there's only 4 distinct values in that list. And then this is, if you want to return distinct element from a sequence of objects of some custom data type. Okay, so essentially, yeah, if you have, that's what I was thinking. So essentially they have this my product, which inside of it has a name and a code. So they want you to sort of write a way for your data type or your class to compare each other. So how do you know that this is distinct from this? Because it has a different code and name. So essentially when they call .distinct, let me see, exclude duplicates, .distinct. I think it should, right? I don't think you need to write your own method. I think that's what they're doing here, but like I check whether code equals other code. Okay, so they are sort of checking in here because they're rewriting. Yeah. Because they're like rewriting this. Let me see. I feel like I haven't had to write that, but maybe it's just because I haven't worked with it in that sense. Oh, let me see. Returns an unordered sequence that contains no duplicate values. It uses the default equality compare default to compare values. A is an invocation of distinct. Is the default equality compare default is used to compare values to the types that implement the equatable T generic interface. Equals, right? Okay, interesting. For an example, you see also distinct by. I know. Distinct by is another beast. Like that. I know I've had issues with distinct by because distinct by, and then you're telling it to do it on a specific column. I've run into issues with that when it comes to querying from databases. Like that one is built not different, but built weird. But essentially in here, if we just had multiple of the same, so I don't know if we have like multiples of the same in a list. Let's just do this. I know how to do this. And we just add. We just remove you. Let's take you. Where is my list of water type Pokemon? Let's do this. Let's do a dot add. And let's just add the Squirtle object in there. And then let's just test to see if the way I think distinct works. So then we want var distinct water types. And then we do this with that. And then we do just distinct. I don't know if this works. Let's try it. Let's try it. Because I'm not sure if it works. Just because of the documentation, it like speaks something different to me. But let's just test it out and see what happens. So let's do test request. Boom. So in here, we have now 11. So we have Squirtle. We should have Squirtle in here twice. Yeah, so we have Squirtle in here twice. And now we get this Squirtle. And then we should not have another Squirtle. Okay. Yeah, so that works. I was pretty sure that worked. I didn't think you would need a second one. Or I didn't think you needed to write the equality. Like I felt like distinct was just smart enough to do that. And it is correct. Distinct is smart enough to do that. So even with the complex object, it is able to detect that two things are the same thing and you just get rid of it. So right here, we only have 10. We only have Squirtle once. We don't have it at the bottom anymore. So versus here, where we have 11 items and we have Squirtle twice. So that is the distinct method. So now with that being done, with distinct, let's move on to, well, let's look at distinct by, because I know distinct by has caused me issues in the past, especially when it comes to when it comes to filtering. I know with filtering, I've had issues with distinct by because I don't think it's another one of those barriers of LINQ to SQL where if you have a complex query, distinct by will cause an issue. Let me see, because I know I have previous examples, but I don't remember if I have a distinct by. No, because see, here's just distinct. And see, yeah, I don't have a distinct by example. Actually, that was misspelled. Maybe I do. Distinct by. No, I don't. All right, I didn't think I did. So let's go to the next one. So we did distinct. So let me write down we did distinct. Oh my goodness, I can't type today. It's a Saturday, man. Like, lazy. What are we doing? LINQ to SQL on this day. Where is my... There you are. That's what I was looking for. There you are. Okay, cool. So we did distinct. Now let's close you. So is distinct, and then where's distinct by? All right, so we have distinct by here. Sequence according, yeah, because distinct by is where you select a specific key. So it's not like the full object. So if I now do, per se, the exact same thing, I can now pick a specific key on like my object. So if I wanted to filter here and we had, you do by name. So you would just do, instead you change, comment this up. Let's do that and then go here. And then you do that. Then it's going to ask you, hey, we need a column or a key to actually filter on. So then you would do like name or something of this nature. And then it would give you only ones that have distinct names. And that's all that would happen there. But let's go through the article. But I do want to point out, for those of you, I have had issues with distinct by if you try and put it like in an iQueryable situation. So you might have like a big query, right? A big query where you've now joined multiple tables and you are trying to like dot select a specific item that you're trying to create, right? So you're trying to create new object, a new list of objects to send back. And out of that joined list, you also want to filter out and only get distinct by some specific key. I've had issues where that doesn't work. I don't have the examples because I know I've done them like in the past, like at work, not on my own, but I know I've run into situations where like LINQ just does that thing where it's like, hey, we don't know how to actually translate this to SQL, so rewrite your query. And then usually that'll involve like, either usually that means that there's like easier solution or an easier way to do your query, or that just means that there is some tweaking, or you might need to actually like pull in some values into memory before doing your iQueryable. So sometimes it's like that, but I know distinct by has been a pain point for me. And if you push distinct by too hard, I think you will hit that limit of LINQ can only do so much, and it can translate LINQ to SQL in more complex situations. But if you're doing something like this, where it's just, hey, I have a list of Pokemon and I want to get them distinct by a name, it should be able to do that fairly easily. But it's more whenever you have an example. Do I have an example of like a big join? I don't know if I have a big join. Like, I know this isn't a big join, but let's just say it was like something like this. But then you also had to do like a dot select. Maybe there was a table that you have that's not like neat. I think also the issue is mainly when you're trying to join a table, but that table isn't like a direct foreign key reference for your other table. So you sort of have to join on specific keys. And then that's where like the graph can get a little messy for LINQ, and it won't know. So you get to the end, right? Let's say you've joined 3 or 4 different tables, and now you're doing dot select. You're doing dot select, and then you're doing, I only want the distinct versions of this, right? So you only want distinct by, I don't know, some value, the height of the person. I don't know, the height of the person, right? But there's like multiple at that point. So this is where it'll be like, I can't translate all of this LINQ to SQL. So I think if you guys ever run into that scenario where you're joining a lot of tables together, especially if they're not neatly referencing each other. Like here, the thing is, this database is very simple, where Pokemon has a foreign key to region and to type. But let's say like regions was a standalone table, and you had to do a join if you ever wanted to like grab both data together. Like you had to do a more manual join. And then you wanted to include another table that's also like a foreign key. And then you wanted to select. And then you wanted to do a distinct by. That's where distinct by will have issues. And LINQ will tell you like, hey, we cannot translate this. So that's a scenario that you guys probably need to watch out for. Because I have run into that whenever I've worked with distinct by. So that is distinct by. But now let's get back to my example that I had. But yeah, distinct by, that's one of the tricky ones. Usually I feel like it's those something by always tend to be the ones that like are the most finicky when you actually want to use them in like work scenarios. I feel like you'll hit times where you'll be like, oh, okay, this can't be done with an iQueryable, or this can't be translated to SQL. And then you have to sort of pivot what you're actually doing. Okay, so we should have in here, again, the 2 Squirtles. And this should filter them out. Okay, yeah, so we're back down to 10. So yeah, distinct by name. There's 2 of these that have Squirtle. Gone. Okay, so that is going to be distinct by. But I just wanted to make a point to explain distinct by, because I do know that I've had situations where like LINQ to SQL doesn't work. And that's something that you guys need to just be aware of, especially when working with LINQ, is that yes, LINQ does some amazing things. LINQ makes your life easier. LINQ makes it to where you don't have to write as much C# code, but there are limitations to it, and they're not obvious, and sometimes they're very specific to what you're doing. But there are situations where you are going to hit that wall, and then you're just sort of going to have to either through the error that the application is going to give you or through just your knowledge of like, hey, this is the reason why this doesn't work. And it's because LINQ just is not capable to handle this very, very, very complex situation. And I need to think of a different way. And I know for me sometimes when it comes to, offloading queries to the database versus keeping things in memory, I feel like recently for me, I've been very much like, I want to do everything iQueryable. Like, I don't care if I have 50 filters or different things, like I'm just going to offload everything to the database and do everything as efficient as possible. And recently in my experience, and that's where this example actually came from. So the reason like I had to get reintroduced to aggregate is because I was doing like one really massive, let me see, where is it? Like a filter, and then I had to sort. So here we have like an example of filtering. So I had to like do a big query. So let's fill up a table of data, right? So I had to do a table query where it was like, pull me a page of Pokemon, filter based on certain, drop down selections, and then also sort based on like the column arrows, and then do something of that. So there was like a lot of things, and obviously it was way more complicated data than just this Pokemon data. And then one of the new features they wanted was we also want like the specific counts for a specific row. So inside that row data, we also need to dynamically calculate these 3 values. And that's where I sort of stumbled upon this. Not because I got it, because when I was trying to do it as an iQueryable, I was running into issues where I was just like, how do you do this? And I totally forgot that the aggregate method even existed. And then when I tried to add this to the iQueryable, I was like, oh, this only works with a list in memory. So I had to be like, hey, like I had to talk to one of my coworkers and be like, hey, dude, like I don't know if this is going to work because like we can't offload this to the database and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, you can just use aggregate. Like the subset of data that you're pulling to do these counts is so small. It would be like 10 records that we would have to pull in, and it was just like these specific values, right, that we were sub-calculating on. So sometimes I've kind of had to rechange how I think, that sometimes pulling things into memory is okay when you can kind of predict how much data it's going to be, and it's not you're pulling in 1,000 rows, right? You're pulling in 10 values because you then have to do an aggregate and calculate these 3 values for every single row or something of that nature. So there are situations where I think I've had to change that chip in my brain of like, it is okay to bring things in memory. It's just not okay to do it when it's like thousands and thousands or millions and millions of records. But when it's like, if there's a means to the end of some certain calculations or things, like it's okay. So don't freak out if you're always trying to do everything like iQueryable or dynamic or blah, blah, blah. Like it's okay to sometimes bring things in. But with that soliloquy out of the way, let's move on to the next one. So I think the next one is going to be first. And we can just lump in first or default because they are essentially the same thing, just slightly tweaked. So first returns the first element of a sequence. Shocker. And then first or default returns the first element of a sequence or a default value if no element is found, right? So I'm assuming default is if there's no items in a list, it just defaults to a null value. So let's scroll down here. We have source returns the first element of the default value to return if the sequence is empty. Okay. And then it returns default value if source is empty. Otherwise, the first element in source. So with that being said, first or default. So again, the difference between first or default is just going to protect you against null values, I believe. And then first is just going to also do the same thing of return the first item, but you'll have an issue, I believe, if there is no item there. So here we have a list of numbers. What should it return? Because chat, what is the first thing in the list? It's 9. Stars in the chat for everybody. So 9 is the first one. Numbers.first is going to pull 9. Okay, cool. But I believe, okay, so what is this one? The first satisfies a given condition. So Okay, I forgot about that. So you can also use conditions inside of first. So as you can see here, they want a number that's bigger than 80. So you're going to go, nope, 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 92. So you can also inside of first do filters. I hadn't thought about that, but see, this is exactly why. Because this is what I was talking about in a few streams ago, where it was like the count function where you're like calculating something. I remember I did like it was at work and I did a PR and I did dot where I did dot where and then I did dot count and then I pushed that up. I did dot where dot count. I pushed that up and the comment on my PR was like, you can just combine the two. And I was like, you're right. But you just get so used to sometimes just doing like procedurally in your head as you're like reading and doing queries that you're just like, I forgot that I can just, I don't have to do, X dot whatever, like name equals this. Like I could just grab this and then throw it in here and then that works, So this, and then that works. Or same thing is going to be you do first where the name is going to equal Squirtle. Let's get rid of this example because we don't need this right now. So it would be now inside of your first, you can also do that. So inside of there, you can also add a condition. So that's what they're doing here. First number this. Let's go back to our example. And then I believe I'm going to do one where it succeeds and then one where it fails. Because I believe this is the difference between first or default. Because I feel like in my example, I always use the or default because that's the one that protects you against exceptions. So, of course, I did not set it to anything. Duh. Okay, let's restart that. It would be first or default. Nice. Everyone drink water. Stay hydrated, guys. You don't want to get dehydrated. You want to pass out on your computer. First Pokemon is going to be Squirtle. So here we're doing first Pokemon that matches this one. So if we had multiple Squirtles, it would only like look at the first one. But now let's do a Pokemon that I know is not going to be in this list. So let's do my favorite Pokemon, Metagross. So let's do here. We have Metagross. Where are we at? Metagross right here. Here we go. Okay, we have Metagross. Let's go. Metagross in the chat. So if we redid this, and now we tried to pull this, consider that my list is named only water type Pokemon. So Metagross not being a water type should not be in this list. So if it is, then I messed something up. So if we go through here, we see that we now have an invalid operation exception. Is that we now have an exception because the sequence has no matching element. So with there being no matching element, can't match anything. So with that being said, this is where first or default would protect us. So if we did first or default, which as well accepts a filter, literally guys, literally chat. I forgot that I didn't even know first or default could accept a condition. I forgot. I didn't even know. I honestly did not even know that it accepted a condition. But this is why we're doing this review. Because it's good for me, it's good for you, it's good for the soul, and it's good for, I guess, whatever we're going to work on in the future. Let me press test request. Press this. So as we can see, we are now getting a null value because null value is the default. So can we set the null value though? If we, let me see. I'm assuming we can pass in let me see. Because I think it said that we could. Not do anything? What are the overloads for this? Let's see. T source, the type of the elements of source. Returns the first element of a sequence or a default value if the sequence contains no elements. So it has to be, it's an item of the same type as the source. So I can't just return this. I would have to return, because first returns the first item of type Pokemon, I would need to give it an actual item to return. So if there's not an item, I'm going to create my item and I'm going to return it. Okay. We're getting overload in here. We're getting all the different overloads. So let's go here, click it, and let's see this work. So now we get down here. We should see that this obviously still does not contain Metagross in it, but now we have this basic Metagross object that we're getting because we gave it a default value in case it didn't find it. So this could be pretty useful. I'm not gonna lie. I know a lot of times, I would say 99% of the times, if I use first or default, it's more just for protecting against not finding a value versus actually wanting to give it a replacement value, I think. I don't really remember a whole lot of scenarios where I'm thinking, you know what? Like, I want to... What is going on here? Yeah, let me just read that. Sorry about that. I don't know if I remember a good amount of scenarios where I've ever actually needed to give first or default a default value. I don't know if any of you guys have had a scenario where you've actually used the first or default and gave it a default value. But I think for the most part, whenever I use default, it's just like, hey, don't crash on me. And then just give me a null value. And then if I have a null value, then I know that maybe that object either didn't get created correctly or it's like there was an issue creating it, or I need to create it, because I'm thinking of like maybe when you do an edit where you're looking, hey, does this object exist so that we can update it, or for deletion, or creating an account, or blah blah blah, stuff like that, where you have to like look for, is there a match for this thing? If so, is it null? Is it an actual match? So I don't really know a whole lot of scenarios where like you'd want to give it a default value. There's probably some specific scenario, and it's the reason why it exists. But what is the other one? Because I saw there was a third one, I think. Try get first. That's different. I guess that's it. I guess those are the two scenarios where it's either predicate bool found. Okay, yeah. So I think those are the two scenarios where basically you can feed it a default value to spit back instead of just spitting back a null, or you can just give it your condition. So that's first or default. First or default is obviously going to be the one that's going to prevent an exception from happening, and you should just expect that you're going to get back a null. So I think we are good with first or default. So let me write that one down. I don't know if you guys have any questions on any of that, but I think first or default is pretty straightforward. And that was my only other curiosity, was the value. Let me look at the examples for first or default and see if there wasn't anything that I missed. So setting them to 1. Okay, first month. Just null. Yeah, because like this would return just like a null. Yeah. Or this would be a 0, I think. I think this would be a 0 because it's an int list. Yeah, again, they're just basically doing this where you can add a condition instead of first or default. Okay, I think we're good with first or default and first. Let me write those down as well. Cool, so we are knocking out a good amount of these, but there are still a good amount. And my goal by the end of this is, 1, it's a good review for me, good review for you guys, as well as these live streams are going to exist going into the future. But I do plan on going through and then probably compiling like a shorter version of either all the live streams, or I'll refilm me going through all these methods, just to have that sort of exist on my YouTube channel. If you guys haven't checked out the last couple more C# focused videos, I'd appreciate you guys go check those out. Drop a like, comment if you want to, if you learned something new. I've been exploring a lot more, getting into like C#, functional programming, and learning how to, and just upping my C# skills in general, because I feel like I know how to do a lot of things in .NET, whether it's Docker, DevOps, but I feel like sometimes you just want to like grind out like C# stuff, and I've been like really enjoying that. So that's where some of that content's been coming from, and I hope you guys have been finding value in it. Definitely go check out, support it. It would mean a lot to me, because I've put a lot of effort into it. So appreciate that. But now let us continue from the next one. So I know some of these like look like they're not clicked, but I already went through this one. I have it written down. So let's look at group by. Another by. So we know that those can be a little tricky, but it's gonna, and for some reason the grouping always confuses me. Like this, like grouping items together always ends up confusing me a little bit. I will not lie. So this is gonna group the elements of a sequence according to a specified key selector function and creates a result value from each group. We have a fair amount of different variations. That is great. That's definitely not going to confuse me. So what does the group by function do? The group by function groups the elements of a sequence according to a specified key selector function and creates a result value from each group and its keys. So essentially, it does like a key value pair, I believe, where we have a specific key that we group on, and then we have a list of matching grouped items. And I believe that then is its own list, right? Or it's like object. The structure of a group by always confuses me a little bit. But I do know it's like key value pair. So you have your key is going to be the key that you are grouping on, and then every match of that becomes a list. But for the other items, I forget what happens to them. So these are some of the ones that confuse me a little bit. I'm not going to lie. So we have the type of elements of source, the key. Let's look at some examples. Give me where are the examples at? All right, let's go back to the cat names or pet names, I guess. So we have this following code example demonstrates how to use group by to group the projected elements of a sequence and then project a sequence of results of type T result. So type T result here would be pet, or actually no, because they are projecting into something. So we have a list of pets here. So we have Barley, Boots, Whiskers, and Daisy. So we have a list of pets, and then they are grouping group age values by the math floor of the age, then project an anonymous type from each group that consists of the key, the count of the group's elements, and the minimum and maximum age in their group. What is math.floor? I don't know what math.floor is. Rounds a number down to the nearest integer. Okay, so that just group values by the math floor of the age. So it turns 8.3 to 8. This goes to 4. This goes to 1. This goes to 4, I believe. And then we are grouping based on age. Let me see. Hey, what's up, Chris? Chris Cotta? Didn't expect not to know what math.floor is. I don't know what math.floor is. Literally never used math.floor in my life. So math.floor. But then how does this work inside group by? Group by. So it's group. Okay, so let's focus. Do you know math.ceiling? Math.ceiling. I do not work with like, I'm not gonna say I don't work with numbers. I don't have a lot of scenarios where I need to round up or round down. I usually just keep the numbers as is. But no, I've never used math.floor or math.ceiling for any of that stuff. But the more you see, this is why we do this, because none of us know everything. And then math.floor, the heck is a floor? You know, that's why you have to look it up, because I don't know what the heck a floor is, or the ceiling. Now that I've seen the floor, I understand what the ceiling is, because I'm assuming it's the other way. Now let me make sense of this, because it's already throwing me for a loop. So, weirdness. So then it's a func, a source, a key. So it's the oh. So is this the key, and then this what you're grouping on? I think that's what this is. Okay. So I think here you're defining the key, and then here you're defining the actual item that you're grouping on. So you're telling it, hey, our key is this for the key value pairs, and then these are the list of ages to look on for every single item in this list. So based on that, based on the base age, which is what comes from here, age that comes from here, project it into a new object. Especially, okay, buddy, just kidding. No, you're good, man. You're good. You don't have to say that. I appreciate the joking. Also watch the daytime video. Great stuff overall. Thank you, man. I really appreciate you, Chris Cotta. Thank you for stopping by. You've been following. Especially the series, following you for over a year, man. Appreciate you, dude. Appreciate you, dude. For all the support. Yeah, those JWT videos were a minute ago. Those were a minute ago, but I'm really happy with how those came out. I've been actually thinking about going back and revisiting some of the authentication stuff. Eventually, just because it's one of those like you knock out and then you forget that there's maybe tweaks or updates about it, and maybe I could do that in a more updated format. Especially, I always try and look at what's a new way to sign in. I think do I have a new one? I don't know. I feel like I have something to do with identities that I also want to use for authentication. So I'm always looking into new ways to authenticate, because I think that's always something that everyone has to do on an application. But I appreciate you for stopping by and saying hi, and for the all the support, man, for a year. Really, really, really appreciate that. And thank you for checking out the daytime video. And yeah, really, really, really appreciate your support. Thank you so much. And so going back to here, so then you project your key is your base age. Okay. Making sense. So group by, you take your key, which is that first line, which is this one. Then you have your list of ages. Then you project it into here. And then they're creating a new object called key with the count. So the amount of ages inside of that the amount of ages being grouped into that category. And then the min and then the max based on that group. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. And then to actually group, so you would have 2 in the 4, you would have 1 in the 8, 1 in the 1. Right? So you would have 2 in the 4, 1 here, 1 there. Gotcha. Yeah. So then this is so that you can group them like by their numbers. And so you're like filtering down a little bit. Okay. This makes more sense now, but definitely, it took me a second. It's a little confusing. Group by, this structure sometimes confuses me, and I know it's the same for like aggregates and stuff like that. But you gotta be better. Gotta be better. And left join and right join also have a same structure where you have something here, then you have this, and this structure sometimes can look a little scary. So let me come down here. But yeah, it makes sense. So we only have 1 and 8. So it'll set this key as 8. It'll say that there's 1 here, and it'll say that the min and the max is based on ages, which is not the floored value. So it'll actually look at 8.3. So then it creates 8, 1, 8.3, 8.3. And then when it gets to the second one, it's going to look at 4 and 4. So it'll have 4 here as the key. The count is going to be 2. And then we're going to have 4.3 as the min and 4.9 as the max. So 4.3, 4.3, 2. Okay, Cool. This is making sense now. Making sense. Got it. A group by or group by into to an invocation of group by. Is there any other examples? I know there's a lot of examples because there's a fair amount of different overloads to this that might be a little different. Let's see. So what is this example? The following code, how to group the elements of a sequence. So we have, so is it just a list versus, what is over here? What is this? No? Okay. Some of these are very similar looking. Some of these are very similar looking, and then it's like you piece together like what's actually different or not. Okay. They're doing I grouping of int string, group by age and pets. Okay, so they're creating an interface of I grouping of int and string, int being the age. Okay, so they went off of the floating point numbers, and now they're just using age and name, and they're grouping by age and name. So yeah. So they're like grouping just on that. So basically you just put together the strings into this list, and then you sort of have this. Okay. Key, and then the pet group is just a list in there of strings. Okay. Hope you guys can tell this is taking brain power on a Saturday. This is taking brain power on a Saturday. Some of these are like when I read this, like look at this. Like if I showed this to a regular person, where are you? This. I showed that to a regular person. I told you, read that. You'd be like, dude, this is like hieroglyphics. This is like some Egyptian stuff. And so if I like ever just like, I just kind of like shut my brain off, and it's just like, I get overwhelmed whenever I look at like stuff like this. It's Sunday for you, 12. Oh, late night. Thank you for tuning in. Where are you watching from? That it's already Sunday. You're in the future. I'll see you. I'll see you there tomorrow. That's why you have the docs. Blah, blah, blah. I have the docs. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this is why like I wanted to sort of do this exercise. One, because obviously it's content. Spoiler alert: you're from Bulgaria. What about you? If it's not a secret, I am in Dallas, Texas. Not a secret at all. Not a secret at all. If you ever see like let me see, what screen is it? If you ever see this, and if you zoom in, it's from the University of Texas at Dallas. So I am from Dallas, and that is my thing. So I don't hide it at all. It's in the back of like all my videos. So that's my degree. But that's awesome. Shout out to Bulgaria and the future, because you're in tomorrow. But thank you for checking in, man. Especially at that time of afternoon, late night hours. But yeah, I'm gonna check go. But yeah. No, this is why I was sort of wanting to do this exercise, because I know there's like different overloads, there's different tweaks, values, things that like happen. So definitely like being able to like go through this and check out. Like I found some very interesting stuff in here that I don't know if I'm ever gonna use, to be honest. Because some of them I feel like are very specific to certain situations, but definitely you never know, and especially with like work or personal projects, whatever that may be, just being able to have these sort of fresh. Do I like it in Dallas? Last summer I went to the USA. I was in Plymouth, Massachusetts for like 4 months. Yeah, that's a big shift. I won't lie. Europe to Plymouth, Massachusetts. While I've never been to Massachusetts, I know the East Coast is very pretty. I went to Washington D.C. a couple years ago, and I was surprised with how like green it is over there. Because Dallas is like very flat, honestly. But yeah, I've grown up in Dallas. I'm originally from the Chicago area, so I'm from up north. But yeah, I've grown up in Dallas, and I love the city. I love cities. I love cities in general. So I like living here. It's grown a lot from when I originally like moved here a long time ago. So it was smaller, and I feel like it's still like got that mid-sized city vibe to it. But it's definitely more modern than I would say Plymouth, Massachusetts, or Massachusetts in general. Those have a lot more history. I would say all of those like way older cities and states, like they just have a lot more history and value to them. Not saying Texas and Dallas doesn't, but like whatever has happened. Well, things have happened in Dallas to former presidents. So I was about to say, what has ever happened in Dallas? And then I was like, yeah, things have happened in Dallas. But yeah, it's very different from, I would say, the East Coast, where I would say there's a lot more history. Things are a little older. It's a different vibe. I mean, I feel like all the United States like has its different sections where they have different vibes to them. But I would definitely say Dallas is like a more like your typical modern city. I wouldn't say that it has that very like defining historical or cuteness to it as much. But definitely coming from Europe to the USA, I'm sure that was a very big difference. I would say that's a very big difference for sure. But I haven't been to Massachusetts, right? No, I haven't been to Massachusetts. So I haven't been to Massachusetts. So like I actually don't know how it looks, but I definitely say it's probably closer to Europe than Dallas is going to be, to be honest. Many Bulgarians live in Chicago and its area. Yeah, I know Chicago has all different types of neighborhoods and things of that nature. That's cool. Have I been to Europe? I went to Europe when I was a kid. My dad got he won like a cruise. He won like a cruise and we did like the Mediterranean. So it wasn't like a fully expansive trip. Boston is the most European city. Yeah, I mean those are the cities where like a lot of the immigrants came over originally. So like New York, Boston, that's where a lot of the immigrants came over in like the wave in like I don't know, early 1900s, late 1800s when like a lot of immigrants came from Europe. I don't know if my times are correct, but something like that. But yeah, I know when I lived in Chicago, if my memory serves me correct, my parents mentioned that we lived either it was near a lot of Polish people or it was Ukrainians. I don't remember. But it was like the neighborhood from that sort of side. So I can't remember if it was Polish or Ukrainians, but it was something of that nature. So yeah, I know they all those really big cities have all like their sections where, kind of people just group together in their communities. And I think that's really cool. But yeah, I haven't been to Europe since I was like a kid, but it's definitely like on my list of places I want to go. Hopefully. Hopefully soon I can do another trip now as like an adult of Europe. So getting back to this, let me just try and do like a group buy based on went there and fell in love with it from a small country, from a small town, and New York was like, I can imagine. I have not been in New York, but I've been to Chicago, obviously. And even me being from Dallas and Dallas having quote unquote big, like big buildings and a nice downtown and being stuff like that. Like you go to those like huge cities and it's just like, it's different. It's just different. It's just really different. Those big cities, they're just, you feel that big. You feel that big when we're in those big cities. So I definitely feel you, especially just like the shock of being, a smaller place, smaller town, smaller country. And then you go to New York and you just have billions of people or millions of people in like one city sort of crammed there. But I'm happy that you enjoyed it. It's definitely a vibe being in like a very big city. But I definitely say big cities aren't for everybody, but at least for me personally, I really enjoy cities. So let me do grouped, and then let's just do my full list of Pokemon because I don't want to filter out. And then let's group by, and then it's okay. This is the documentation because I'm forgetting already what I have to type. Where is my documentation? So it is, you can group by this, and then you select. They're selecting the name there. Oh, excuse me. So group by, and then let's just do x dot to type, and then let's do name, and then let's grab that, and then it's and then you are getting an I enumerable. So let's just to list it. Let's just to-list this and see what happens. So I believe here it should group all the Pokemon based on their types and in their little bubbles. And then we should have our little buckets where there's definitely a lot more water types. There's definitely a lot more water types in this list. So let's go through here. Here. So here we have one group of everything. Oh, it's, bro. I need to give it a group by, I have to give it a value, don't I? Oh, we should do a group by correct. Yeah, there's just some of these methods that you're just like, I don't know how to write them or type them because like I don't. They just get confusing. Dude, honestly, the left and right join way better because the way you had to do it before, if you wanted to just grab subsections, it was so bad. It was so bad. Whenever they come up with these like new methods or tweaks to things or just make it better, you're just like, ugh. But yeah, like you get group by and you're just like, I don't even know how to write it. You have to like, I have to look this up and figure it out because then you'll just be like, I don't know how to write this. But I really, when I was going through the release notes for .NET 10, I was like, this is a little underwhelming. But when I finally got down to like the left and right join, I was like, this is the type of stuff that is actually useful. Because I feel like sometimes, Microsoft or whatever it may be, they hype things up that don't actually help us on a day-to-day. It's like, yeah, we made contains more efficient when it's translated to SQL. Awesome. Glad you're telling me. But it's not a feature. It's just like a quality of life thing. So I'm always happy when they add things that like actually add value to my day-to-day. So this grouped key equals, okay, so the key is the type. What am I doing wrong here? I'm doing something wrong here, and I don't know what it is. Oh, it's because it's type ID. That's what it was. And type is never going to be that. And my null conditional video is out as well. And that is how you get rid of that squiggly line. Exactly, yeah, to be honest, left and right. To be honest, left and right join were probably the greatest. For example, the new way to create extension methods, like why? Yeah, like it's fine. Like it's one of those where it's like it's fine, but I'm not gonna go out of my way to dig into it. I guess if like it's one of those, if I ever need to, maybe, but So, but yeah, I agree with you. The left and right joins to me were like the most exciting thing. There's some interesting stuff. What was the other part? I forget what the other part was. It was the part where you are, I can't remember what it is. It's like at the very bottom. What is it? It's the one where you can state like default queries. I 100% support it. Don't fall into the propaganda. Don't fall into the propaganda and do what they're telling you. Don't listen. What was it? This stuff. I think the named query filters. Where are you? This, I think, was the other cool thing that was like low key. And honestly, like I've never really used global query filters. I will be honest. Never really used global query filters. But I think this is the other thing that like I saw it and I was like, okay, these are pretty cool. Like these are pretty cool if I got to a scenario where like it says here, where you have to like not show things automatically or kind of hide things without really having to do the extra work on your queries. I thought these were pretty useful. Will I be using them a whole lot? Most likely not, unless I'm like at a certain type of project. But it's good that they exist. And now me sort of going through this, I'm like, okay, I could use these going forward. So let me try this, because that was the mistake here. I wasn't actually using a key. I was using the type of type. Shaking my head, man. Shaking my head. Shaking my head on this one, man. Let me go back here. Lost my train of thought. Okay, go back here. Let's run you. So now we've grouped 1. And we still grouped everything together into a list of 20 Pokemon. What am I doing wrong here? So we are grouped by... So the int is there. Is it because I'm not including in here? No, the number's in here. What am I doing wrong on group by? That's what I don't understand right now. Because I want to do an example, obviously using my, my object. So what are they doing here that I'm not doing? So group by this. Let me go to the first example with the floor and the ceiling and the ceiling and the floor and the windows to the wall. So you're taking your pet. How much do I use AI? AI, that's a good question. Just a curious question from scale from 1 to 10. How much do you use AI on a daily basis? When you need to check something, do you ask AI? Or like now going through docs? I am curious. Okay. I feel the majority of the time now I go to AI first. But let me explain myself. I feel because I'll run into certain specific scenarios where I'll be like, and it won't, I think if it's something of how do I write this, I will go to the documentation. But once I've coded something for a little bit, and then I'll get to a scenario where I'm like, okay, I know I have something very close. Like, let's say this was more complicated. Let me see. One of these that looks a little weird. What's one of my examples? I don't know. Let's look at this one. So here, this is for filtering using delegates on a big query. Let's say I sort of wrote this, but it wasn't running exactly how I wanted it to. Like something was a little off. And I was like, oh, my delegate isn't working the way that I want it to work. I think with that more very specific example that I'm running into, and I just need a quick little something help to scan through something that's very custom to what I'm working on, I'd rather just use AI for that as an assistant. But if I need to, hey, how do I write a join? I'd rather go look at the documentation or Stack Overflow or something else there. But yes, I do find myself obviously more than like maybe the last 2 years using one of the chat bots just for assistance. Because I'll be like, hey, I don't know, my delegate isn't actually giving me back the order by that I want for some reason, So for more specific situations where it's like very specific code that I don't think there's going to be like a random article about it. So when I think something is too custom and not, if it's more custom, I feel like that's when I sort of go to AI for the tweak or help, because I know and I feel just with my experience, something small is missing. That I'll be like, I think something small is missing. And I'll be like, I think AI will help me faster. But then if it's something where I just need to sort of know, like, if it's something more basic, I'd rather go to the documentation or Stack Overflow. But if it's something more specific and it's like a little bug or a tiny little error, I'd rather go to AI. But I do get annoyed with the AI because sometimes it does its thing where, I'm sure you guys have worked with it before, where it like it tells you something and you're just like, no, you're wrong. Like I've gotten to the point where like sometimes I'm just like, let me just reset the chat because like you're pissing me off. If I've seen it and I know the idea behind it, I would go direct. Yeah, that's sort of my idea. That's sort of how I go about it. Like, because obviously I know what I'm doing. So if I get deep into a feature or things of that nature, and I'm like, I know I'm missing something tiny. I know I'm just missing, like, I don't know, like instead of this iQueryable, like I have something else, or I forget expression and I just have func here or something of that nature. And I just forgot. I'd rather go to AI for that than like looking through articles on Google to figure it out or going through documentation of how to write a delegate. So I think that's sort of how I would go about it. If it's something more specific, probably AI. If it's something more basic, definitely I'll Google it still or go to the documentation. And that's sort of how I balance the two because I feel more confident with AI, like using the AI in custom scenarios, because I also feel that I understand thoroughly what I'm working in. And I feel like I have a deep enough knowledge of C# and .NET to sort of know the capabilities of what I can and what I can't do. But when it comes to, I feel like maybe more inexperienced people, I feel like they wouldn't know better. And then that's where they would get into an issue of writing stuff and going down a rabbit hole of things that they don't understand. With Cursor for front end, ChatGPT, and Claude. So for me personally, I use Gemini. I know it's not ChatGPT. I know it's not Claude. It's not Cursor. It's not blah, 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 blah. I use Gemini just because I think it's because I have YouTube Premium. Because I watch a lot of YouTube. And I also, yeah. And I remember they sent me like a early access like link to use Gemini whenever it was coming out. So it just sort of stuck as like the one that I go to. So that's kind of the only one I use. Because when it comes to... So yeah, for both. For usually front end or back end questions, like I'll just go to Gemini. Even for like when I have questions on like thumbnails or like stuff like that, like I just use it. That which is honestly probably more helpful because like YouTube SEO and stuff like that is different. But yeah, I think I feel pretty confident using AI when it comes to my code because I feel pretty confident in my abilities, you know? Let me figure out what the heck am I doing wrong here. So the age, .. Now I really just want to get this group by working because I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. So we have a list and then group by floor, age, and then you're telling it to, does it have to be the same one? Because that's what I'm looking at, what they're doing down here in this one where they didn't, but this was a grouping. Group by this key. So I feel like I'm doing it wrong. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like this is wrong. That's what I feel. I feel like this is just wrong. So let me put it in this dumb structure that they have. Let me go from here. Let's make it look like what I'm reading, and go from here because I'm confusing myself. And I'm not liking it. So you go here, and then you have your key, then you have your name. And then this would be to just project it into like a new object. Yeah, because now you're projecting into a new object. Gemini is there for me. See, Gemini is there for me, but I want to figure this one out for myself. Honestly, that's why I'm not using AI when I'm doing like these, because I kind of want to use the actual documentation because I want my brain to actually like have to work, even though it's Saturday for me at 4:30. And I could be doing a lot of things. I'm trying to learn. But no, Chris Cotto, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate you chatting and all this. Really appreciate your support and for watching my videos for at least over a year. Really appreciate the support. Thank you so much for popping in. And if you're going to go to bed, because I know it's late in Bulgaria, have a good night. And hopefully I'll see you soon, either in the comment section of another video or another live stream. But thank you so much. Really appreciate it. So now getting here, let me see what I am missing, because I believe we're getting here with a dynamic object. And then, so if we just go key and we just, no. Well, I should probably not name it key. I should probably just name it type key. Let's do type key, and then let's do key, and then type key. Why do you not like me? This doesn't feel right. This does not feel right. What am I missing? New. Come on, bro. Come on. Wake up. Wake up. Jeez, wake up, man. Wake up. Wake up. You just can't win them all, guys. You just sometimes, man, you just can't win them all. You just can't win them all. Let me go back here. And what am I missing here? All right, let's run this. See if I am able to get something. Okay, so it grouped 20 strings. Okay. So we did essentially the same thing, but we will not give up. We will not give up. So if I get rid of this, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like the type ID should be a key, but I'm not understanding why this is causing me an issue. That's what I'm sort of getting confused on right now. Also, thank you guys for the likes on the video. So you have 2 likes. Thank you so much. Appreciate the likes. And for all of you watching and hanging out on a Saturday, wherever in the world you may be. Let me see, because this is honestly starting to get a little annoying. Honestly, it's starting to get a little annoying that I can't figure this one out. Or why it's confusing me so much, because I feel like this should work. Let me see. Because this is like where we get into all the different variations of this. And because type ID is going to have a value, because if you look at here, every Pokemon has a type. Like, they all have a type. They all have a type ID, but type is null. Don't we just love what we do, guys? Don't we just love what we do? Come on. Come on, man. Come on. So that group by. Group by. Group by. So now that we've done our grouping, key 17. Key 17, if you look at my database, or my types. Steel. So I think steel is only metagross. So let's look here. Actually, we have 3. Okay, so we see that we have our key. We have our key here. And inside of our key, we have our list of Pokemon. So we have 3 steel types in here. So we've now grouped successfully based on our type ID. And then we are creating this new object here, and we are projecting into this grouped. So we see that we have our key of 17. We have a list of Pokemon. So we have Metagross, Scizor, and Steelix. Now we go into the next one. We see that we now have 13. 13 is going to be for, I'm not sure, Tyranitar and Rampardos. I'm guessing that is Rock 13. And then if we continue down, I'm assuming we are going to find this one to be Water, because this is where all the water types are going to be. So we are successfully now grouping by our types. And silly me, I was just doing it wrong. But so is programming. So is you live and you learn, right? You live and you learn. You live and you learn. Group by. So much fun. So that is basically group by. And as we saw, there are different variations of how you can write it. I want to say that I could have just done the other way as well. But I actually kind of like this. It's not bad. Not bad. But this is for like projecting. So I guess if you wanted to do the other way. But the other way was like with that eye grouping, right? That was kind of weird. That was the eye grouping. So I think this is probably the way. But there's like how many other examples are there of this? Because there is this one that has this. And then it's also projecting into an object where you set the key. So I guess this is if you wanted to do some conversion on the object that's over here. Okay. Cool. Let's move on from group by. I think we're done with group by. I think my brain has done enough on group by for the time being. Okay, yeah, we're done. We're done with group by. That was something else. Let's look at group join, the next one down in the list for .NET 10. Group join. So this correlates the elements of 2 sequences based on key equality and groups the results. So this is joining two lists and then puts them together and groups things together from 2 different lists, I'm assuming. This might be the last one that I do because I'm starting to get tired. Tired of talking for a little bit. Let me see. Let's keep going here. Correlates the elements of 2 sequences based on key equality and groups the results. Elements in the first sequence, elements in the second sequence, the type of the keys returned, the type of the result elements. So these are the parameters. So it's going to be in a group join, you're going to have your first list. You're going to have your second, so outer, inner, your keys to join on, and you're going to have your result. I'm assuming that is what I'm reading here. Let's go down here and let's see what happens. So we have a class of person and a class of pet. So I'm assuming people have pets. So we want to join these into its own object. So in here we have a list of people. Why did they do this? Why? Anyways, moving on. A list of people, a list of pets. So create a list where each element is an anonymous type that contains a person's name and a collection of names the pets they own. So you do group join, and they have, so what is this? Their outer, right? Is that one outer? Outer, inner, key, result. So you're going to have your outer, which is pets, inner, which is person, and then your key, which is the owner. And then you're going to project into a new object, in which here they're shoving, this is the key, which is the owner name, and then you have the pets. No. You're not doing a key. They're projecting just owner name and pets. I think you could have the key if you wanted to, probably, but I don't know why you would. They're just projecting owner name and pets. So then you would have, let's do Terry. So you'd get to Terry. Terry would then look through the list in here, and then we'd find Boots and Whiskers, and then they would get assigned into this collection right here. Because you'd have the pet collection coming from here, would be this, and then you'd look through and you would select the matching group. Like you would select the matching ones based on the key, which your key is owner, and then you join. So you would have Magnus as the name, and then you have their pet name, Daisy, or you would have Barley and then Boots, because here you're printing them out on a new line. And then group join produces hierarchical results, which means that the elements from the outer are paired with collections of matching elements from inner. Group join enables you to base your results on a whole set of matches for each element of outer. Okay. First sequence, second sequence. Outer, inner. Is there anything else in here? Anything else that I need to see? Has no direct equivalent in traditional relational database. However, this method can implement a superset of inner joins and left outer joins. Both these operations can be written in terms of group joins. So what is... I guess group join, the difference between a group join and a regular join is just that on a group join, you're using a key, but on a join, you're using a key. Group join versus join. Left outer join, inner join. Oh, wait, so they're not like super different. There's a match. All of them first includes a collection of all magic forces. So it's a left, okay, so it's a left outer join is essentially what you're doing here with a group join. So it's essentially a left outer join, and a join is when you're equally taking from both. Versus a group join is a left outer join. Okay, that's what I wanted to check because I was seeing that they mentioned outer and inner a fair amount. So that's what that's what I was like trying to figure out here. Because so if it's a left outer join, left outer join, I don't remember. Join. Give me the Venn diagram because I forget how this left outer join is. You take all of table A, you take all of your sequence, and then you only take the combines. Okay. Whenever I do joins, I always have to look at these Venn diagrams because otherwise I get confused. Let me go back here. So, what example could I do in mine? I don't know how I could make an example for this. I might need to think about this one. 'Cause I don't really have anything that could nest like that. I could have the list of types. If I just grab like the list of types. Do I have the list of types everywhere? List of types. I don't know if I have the list of types. List of types. To list. And then we already have the list of Pokemon here. And we could join them. And then only if your type exists in here, like just join them together. I know that they'll have a one-to-one, but I could still do something about it. Let's see. At least let's try and write it, right? So create a list for each. So you want all the pets, but yes, because you want all the pets here, but not necessarily you will have all the people, right? So I'm understanding this. There's the outer and then the inner. No. Or you want all the people and they may not have a match of pets. Because if that's the outer and the inner, so I think it's that second one. So you want to have all the types, but then they might not have a matching Pokemon. Okay, let's try and write this. So group join example, and let's do because what am I doing? Because of course you're doing a group join on people. I forget why I just didn't look at this first part. Yes, you're doing a group join on people. And then the secondary one is pets. So you have this, but you may not have a matching pet for the person. It's a Saturday. For sure it's a Saturday. It is for sure a Saturday. Let me keep going. So in our example, types would be important. So we would do list of types dot group join, and then we would pass in list of Pokemon. Also, this is a question just for the chat. Hopefully you guys can answer. Do you guys like your LINQ queries to sort of like go, let me give you an example. Do you guys like your LINQ queries to sort of just all in a line? So even if you have like multiples, like dot include, dot to list, do you guys do it in a line? Or do you guys like put a space and then make it go to the next line and kind of like align them in this way? Do you guys do that? What do you guys have a preference? Just a random question. Because I know people that I've worked with recently have a preference, and they kind of like me putting them in a line like this. That's my opinion on it. I get it, but I also, whatever, bro. Whatever, to be honest. And okay, so then group join. But I know I'll do this because eventually, I don't know, TikTok's been weird, but eventually I also want to be like streaming at the same time on TikTok. But so eventually I'll probably have this and like be more zoomed in if I stream on TikTok, because you know TikTok screens are just on your phone. So then you will have type is going to be type, person is person, because they're just a name. So this would be type dot type ID. And then you would have Pokemon dot type ID, because these are what you're joining on. And then you would do your next comma, and now you have your type, and then you have your, that's if I want to do that the exact same way. Compare keys. So then pet collection. So that's just like your second list. So I could just do Pokemon list. And this just goes here. And then I could just do like two lists or something here. And then we can do type name equals that. And then Pokemon, which is essentially group join, because you're joining two lists. So then we could just do Pokemon, and then we just do a list dot select and just dot select their name. And we should get a list of this with, yeah, okay. Let's try this. I think this should work. I feel pretty confident about it. I feel pretty darn confident about it. Let's try it out. And I just want to remind you guys, I've dropped, which is it? Let me pull up my videos. So I've dropped a few videos recently. So what is it? The one, yeah. So I've had a few like C# focus videos. You guys go check them out, show them some love, and then as well as like if you guys haven't checked anything new with EF Core or .NET 10 or things of that nature, I've covered those in previous 2 videos as well. So thank you guys who have already shown it the love. And if you can show it more love, I would also appreciate that. But again, thank you guys. And just wanted to point those out that those videos have recently come out as well. And I'm really happy with them. And if you guys show us love, drop them a like. Really would appreciate it. But thank you so much. And now let's get back to what we were doing here. So go here, LINQ methods, test. Okay, it worked. As we can see, we have for normal types, we have no names. For fighting types, we see that we have Holucha and Infernape. Is that because we did not do a toList here? So that is what we needed to do here. Because if not, they're still just enumerables. I think. That's probably wrong, but we're learning here. We're learning. So let's go here. So we can see that we have the type of fire Pokemon, and in here we have 1 Pokemon of Charizard that we've joined in. Here we have 10 water types. For fighting, we have 2. And as we can see, because it is the left outer join, we have all the types, like all of these. We have all the different types, and then we have 0 Pokemon if there's no matching Pokemon for that given type. So then if we go down to Rock, we should also have Tyranitar and Rapardos. For Dragon, we have none. Ghost, we have none. And yes, that's my fault because I've never created Pokemon in my database that are those types. But that is group join. So essentially, yeah, that is what you're doing. You're essentially just joining 2 lists of data to create a new one. But you're essentially doing a left outer join, if what I'm seeing here is correct. Let me see. Group join from join. Let's look at this answer. When you join the 2 lists on the ID field, the result will be A1, A2. Let's see. Because 1, A1, A2. So a join is combining 2 lists, and you want all the values kept. So here, if you join 1 with 1, then you keep 1, A1, 1. Let me see. If you join the 2 lists, you join the 2 on ID field, then you'd have A1, and then you'd have A2, A3, because you're the same ones, and you would have B1, B2. And then when you group join, you're combining 1 list. You want everything of 1 list and then only a partial list of the other one, only matching values. So here we lost C on this because there was no matching between the 2. And this is like an inner join. But then here A and B match with something, but we also keep C, and then they're put in like it's a little list. So that's essentially what we're doing. So we keep everything of our outer table, and then of the other one, we just keep only, and then we give it like a little list. So we're grouping them. So how we did the group by. Okay. Let's keep talking through this. So just like we did group by, where you group them and then they're put into like a key and then a list. A group join is now taking not just that concept, but now we're taking 2 different lists and then grouping them together. But our key, quote unquote, is our primary like outer list, and then everything else just gets funneled into its little list attached to it, and then funneled into its little list, and then we keep everything on that outer list, and then it just gets like its null or empty list. Okay, cool, got it. So it's a little confusing. So it's sort of like the left join method, but a little different because of the simple fact that the grouping is a little different. The grouping makes it different because you're still grouping. You're not just joining. Gotcha. Okay, a little confusing, but I think we got to the point of it finally. Where essentially this is a left outer join, and we're grouping everything we're keeping everything in one, and then we're just assigning whatever matches into their little lists, and we're keeping them just like we're doing here. So the matches, we keep them, and if there's no matches from this one, it just gets an empty list. Cool. So that is group join. That was a lot of yapping, but we've now knocked out another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 new ones is what we've knocked out. And then what will be next? Intersect. Produces the intersection of two sequences. Well, I think with that, that's going to be the end of this live stream. We've knocked out another handful of methods. Thank you guys all for stopping by. I really appreciate you guys. For the lurkers, for the chatters, appreciate you guys all the same. Go check out the recent videos. I think a lot of these C# videos are really useful, especially if you program in C#. I think they are nice little tips. Go check them out. Show them some love. I really appreciate you guys. And hopefully I see you guys in the next stream. I think I'll probably stream afternoon, my time, Central Time, maybe around 7, 8 p.m. So hopefully I can see you guys there. And we're going to continue from the intersect method. And hopefully we can keep just making a dent into all of these methods. Because I think it's really good to review and we're learning a lot and it's good. So thank you guys so much for stopping by. I really appreciate you guys. Take care. Have a good weekend. Have a good Sunday. It's already tomorrow for you guys. And I'll catch you guys